Welcome, everyone. I'm Jay, and I'm here with Jessica, and we are the founders of Eleusinia Retreat. This is actually one of our first video podcasts. We wanted to start this day out with talking about what to look for or what to consider or question about when you are considering attending a psychedelic retreat. Now, Jess, before you started this retreat itself on your own, you also went looking for what was out there. What were some of the things that you were looking for, and what are the things that caused you to pause or wonder, is this the right approach?
Well, I had this nightmare scenario in my head, I guess probably from looking at like ayahuasca retreat advertisements, where it's like this big room with a bunch of buckets and you have like 20 or 30 people just going through who knows what, like vomiting, screaming, writhing on the floor. And there's like, no, that is not going to be me. I am not going to do that. So I would say group size is really important.
Well, I mean, group size, but as you mentioned, taking steps to the comfort of the group plays a big factor as well. Correct?
Like in what sense?
Well, you mentioned ayahuasca retreats. We know ayahuasca retreat is certain purging that happens, that people go through certain physical changes that guests at our retreat, it may not be the best thing to be going through those type of experiences.
Yes.
So the actual substance you use as a psychedelic plays a big factor.
Yes. The fact that we work with psilocybin does make it a little bit easier to keep guests more comfortable and keep the contents of their stomach in said stomach.
What other things you think could be red flags on? I know we are many people know, a sort of science-focused, science-based retreat. Yeah. That's not to say that spiritualism or spirituality is not important components either.
It is, but I do feel like I have to have a solid base of science before I can start even contemplating exploring spirituality, especially when it comes down to your physical safety.
Can you give some examples?
Well, one thing that did take me aback when I was looking for myself is how much people would tell me that the nausea related to a psychedelic experience was due to, let's say, bad energy or spirits or something like that. And that just didn't sit well with me. So I think that having like a solid knowledge of medical science before venturing off into the spiritual side, I think that is more of that's pretty important.
But basically, if there's a scientific explanation for something,
that's the lengthy explanation.
Saying that, this is just what the mushrooms intended. Or if you didn't experience something, the mushrooms that expected you not to experience something are sort of cop-outs, in your opinion.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's sort of a cop-out. And it did not really fly very well with me when I was looking. It's like, if someone tells me that I'm vomiting because of the bad spirits, that contradicts everything I know about the human digestive system and, well, spirits.
What other things would sort of give you pause or something you wish you could?
Well, I don't want to turn this into like really like a bashing or a negative sort of conversation, but I would say what you should look for is, first of all, a medically accurate explanation for nausea. A medically accurate explanation for nausea and steps that can be taken to prevent that. If let's say it could be dangerous for some people to vomit. We've had guests that had dealt with, let's say, throat cancer or even have had like neck fractures. So the idea of vomiting could be dangerous for them. So having options that are like medically viable options to prevent that nausea would be something that I would look for.
Now, in the industry, there's a lot of talk about set and setting, and those words that sometimes people see thrown around. And how do you think this factors into when you be talking about a location or a place where these retreats are actually held?
Well, I do think that the team itself, the people guiding the retreat, are a big part of that whole setting. And having trust. And I found like I was the person who I had more trust for medical science. That having that trust made it the place that I could relax and explore the experience fully. Another thing that I would look for is that there's no way to to completely eliminate the possibility of having a very difficult experience. Sometimes a psychedelic experience can snowball into a panic state. And it can, when that has nothing necessarily to do with the setting, it is individual and specific to that moment. So in the process of looking for a psychedelic retreat, I would want to know very clearly what are their techniques, what do they have in place to help you if that ends up being you.
So privacy, some sort of protocols.
Oh yeah, protocols. Because yes, there is no way to control that 100% and know that it is not going to turn into possibly a traumatic or very stressful experience. So because I'm aware of that, we do keep rescue medications on location. But going to a place that has some policy against that and does not have that available would definitely give me pause.
What other things do you look for?
There are a lot of things that I didn't know to look for back when I was originally shopping for a psychedelic retreat. So now there are other things that because we've run into difficult situations. We've run into things that have required us to come up with a plan to best serve the visitor. So I would say I would be concerned about visiting a retreat that doesn't have flexible dosing. If it's a one-size-fits-all type of thing, I would be concerned.
Because people on certain medications have certain, with how to absorb medication, things like that.
Yes, I think that a psychedelic retreat is always going to be a significant financial investment. Mm-hmm. It's whether it's just a expensive, fancy vacation or something you're hanging your hopes for, for your future on. It is quite an investment, and having a staff that really understands how medications interact with psilocybin and how to plan it so that you get the most out of your experience is quite important.
And part of having a staff that's diverse and varied and educated in these things, the location where the staff's working at being sort of consistent also is important.
Oh, yes. I'd say this is one thing that I didn't know to look for. Because also I wasn't aware that this was a very common thing in the industry. I think that most people looking are not aware that this is a common thing, that many retreats do not have a dedicated facility. For each of these events, they rent an Airbnb and it's like running a fly-by-night pop-up operation each time. And I would definitely not want to, I would want to be visiting a place where the people know their facility very well.
And having a dedicated facility also means that when guests are here, and they're having these experiences, that the facility is ready to handle it because it's the same space every time.
Yes. Your facility is a tool. It's something that and if you're working with a different facility, different place each time, or let's say you're not able to provide exact pictures of the facility because you don't even know where you're going to be. That's something that I would definitely look for a place that is consistently in the same place, has a dedicated facility, does not necessarily share that with other organizations. So there are not other events being held because we control a lot of things here, like everything down to the utensils that are available, the art, everything is set up here, curated for that purpose.
And then people do connect with the facility. I know we've had past guests who've requested the same rooms, but then have the ritual.
Yes, they come back with another family member and have requested the same room. We also have, we do get a lot of guests that have mobility problems. So when they choose a room, they know they can see exactly the pictures of what it looks like and where it is. So if someone's had they're wheelchair bound or they've had an amputation, they know that they're choosing something on the ground floor with a hallway this wide, et cetera.
And you mentioned earlier group sizes. A lot of people would say there's benefits of being in a group and having sort of a group dynamic.
There are, but not, you don't want it to be such a large group that you are, let's say you have more contact with other visitors than with staff members. You want it to so that you're supported by people who are trained and that are trained to support you through this experience, not just the rest of whoever else signed up.
Right. And I think a lot of times when we talk about dedicated facilities, that also means a dedicated support staff,
Yes.
vendors, where, when people look at these things as vacations, a lot of retreats might host events at different places. So like if a trip, you go to a new city, a new place. But that essentially means new vendors, new providers. And a lot of what we've learned in these, 2 years.
Is that everybody on location needs to have a certain level of training
Right.
of interacting or dealing with people that have either under the influence or who have recently been under the influence. And if that was a changing revolving door of who knows what, of chefs, cooks, maids, all those things that you don't necessarily have that opportunity.
Exactly. Focus with the guest at hand.
Yes.
Not some of the logistics and planning that having multiple new locations all the time would sort of create.
Right. Another thing, yes, I would definitely look for. So this is something I didn't know to give me pause back then, is like when I see a website for a retreat and it's all stock photography.
Mm-hmm.
Now that after running this retreat and it's been a couple of years, you realize, yes, it is hard to get, to really market yourself or to present yourself while still maintaining the privacy of your guests. So we do put that effort in there to make sure that we get some pictures of activities or sort of, but that do not present guests.
Right. And I think it's important, even after the guests leave, that we've come to also take a lot of, hope for, is the idea of having support afterwards. Whether it's having lectures and things of that nature. So it's not just like we mentioned earlier, one and done. But, we believe in autonomy.
We have all that. Yes, people stay in touch because you do make connections and relationships while you're here that you just don't want them to dissipate right after you walk out the door. But the main utilitarian reason why we had our support group afterwards is because we teach a mushroom growing class, which does take a lot of support afterwards.
So like you mentioned, we don't believe in gatekeeping. And the whole idea is self-sufficiency. So the individuals is empowered not only to incorporate, these techniques and psilocybin into their own wellness routine, but, they feel comfortable doing so without the help, of retreats.
Yeah, I love it when people come back, but I don't want people to ever have to come back. Right. It's really great to see, the same faces sometimes, because yes, I can admit, being in the retreat business, we do see a lot of faces and a lot of faces that probably you'll never see again. But when people come back, it just warms my heart.
Right, and it's for the community.
I feel like I have family again. Yeah.
Wait. Anything else people should be looking for in considering these retreats?
So it is actually really common that a retreat has some sort of medical professional available. But I would take it a step further, as in, I think that it's really important to have a medical professional that understands psychedelics. Because I could go and ask, multiple doctors specific questions about psychedelics, psilocybin, and how it interacts with different medications, or how, let's say even DMT, how it interacts with receptors, and I could ask them very specific questions and they will just be completely lost. They would have no idea how to answer. So I would say, yes, it's important to have a medical professional that understands the substances that they're working with.
And it's important to know that the staff is on site. There's a lot of corporations. Sometimes you have people on boards, people on websites that actually never are active participants.
Yeah, I was looking at different retreats, and it's like I saw all these people with these great credentials all listed on their site, and But then it turns out that they weren't actually at retreats. They were like board members that were like advisory board members.
Consultants.
They were consultants that were not at the actual retreats.
Yeah, but when you're at the actual retreat, that's where the point's for. So that's where the work is being done.
It is.
Anything else?
I don't think so. I think we covered it.
Thank you all for joining.
Thanks.